The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors. The Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. CanadianTarot.com, your uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community. And The Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind.
All kinds of technical difficulties this morning. Nobody's able to see us right now, even though we are broadcasting.
Oh no, not again.
Yeah, just what happened. So there's people in the feed, but they're in the feed that doesn't have anything, and now the feed is working. So Restream is being finicky. So I'm just going to send them a message and say, you can catch us over here on this. So bear with me for a second while I do that. Very frustrating when that happens.
Okay, I don't think we are broadcasting on YouTube.
We are. It's a new YouTube feed. That's the problem. The original one failed.
Gotcha.
So it just restarted it. And yeah, so just give me a second here while I pull up the new feed, and I'll put it in the chat so that everybody can see us, because we are actually here. And let me just copy that, and then I'll go over to the other channel where everybody is and say, hey, guys, you can catch us over here. I'll just put new feed here in the chat and paste. Boom. There we go. So that should let everybody know. And I'll put it here as well. New feed here.
Mike H is in the right feed, and so is Uncover already, and so is Kit Cassie. They've found us already. So we'll just give a little time for people to migrate over.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there. When we went live, for some reason the YouTube feed was dropped, so I had to reinitialize it, and in doing so, it creates a new feed altogether. So yeah, it's a pain in the butt. Restream has been very finicky as of late.
All right, then I need to do a little bit of reprogramming on my own here.
Yeah,
where I posted the start of the show before we went on, so that people don't go to the wrong place. So for the listeners here who are watching us do this live, please stand by. Do 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 do
do. Basically, what's happening. So hopefully people will be able to find us on the feed where we are right now. Yeah.
Boom, boom.
There's all kinds of weird things happening right now. That's very frustrating to me when the technology isn't working correctly. This makes you want to say, like at one point I was like, oh, screw this. No. But I managed to fix it. But it's really annoying when that happens, and I don't know why it's been happening. But it's only with our YouTube channel. That's it. Everything else is fine.
It's consistently with the YouTube channel.
That's the only thing, and that's where we're, that's where our audience is, and that's where we want people to come so that we can actually earn money from this. So yeah, it's very frustrating when that happens. So apologies that things went sideways first thing this morning. Unfortunately, sometimes that is just how it happens. But we should be good now.
I've got 2 more to do, because it used to be a little quicker when we were only in the bad place. But now that we are in the good place and the bad place, well, it is double the work, though.
Yes. No, I know. I know.
So, and then one more over here, and that should be it. Oh yeah, I also have to check the Facebook pages to be sure that they're okay there too, because there might be 2, because they don't automatically self-erase.
Well, I have a Discord, so I'm going to share the Discord with those I'll put it in the chat here if anybody wants to know what the Discord is, so that you can also watch there if you like. So we're all over the place. Lots of places this morning. Lots of places this morning.
Here we got Beaver here, there, and everywhere. It's Beaver Palooza.
Everything's a palooza.
I kill me sometimes. Okay. All right. This one, the one on our Facebook page seems to be still broadcasting. So that is good. Okay. This is the one that we don't have anymore that I got to take down. Manage post. Yes, I would like to manage post. Why aren't you just telling me delete?
I don't know.
Why is this complicated? Why do I need to do two windows to do that? This does not make sense. Okay. You know what? I don't have time for that today. Right now. Later today, but not right now. All right. They'll see the ones, they'll see if it's us because, well, I mean, the video is actually showing as it, so they'll know which one is working. All right.
Yes.
And on my personal one, it's that one's right too. So from my end, we are all good to go.
Excellent.
All right. So let's make sure. I know that you will remember, but put a note in it anyway to myself that we, when I write the episode description, that we need to edit out the first 8 minutes.
Sure.
for the podcast. All right. So, Mr. Grizzly, give me the countdown because I love it when you tell me to go.
Countdown? 3, 2, 1.
Good morning. And hello, kids and cubs. And welcome to season 4 and episode number 531 of the Daily Beaver Morning Show here on Crier Media Network. Yeah. Today, recording day, is Tuesday, December 10th, 2024. And if you are listening to the podcast version, we had a very interesting debut that we decided not to include in this part for you because it wouldn't have been all that interesting. But for those who were with us live, I'm sure there was a lot of laughing at our expense. So yes, I'm a little giddy and giggly going into this, and that is why you had to be here. You just had to be here for it. That's why you should subscribe to the YouTube feed and watch us in the mornings if you can, and participate in the chat with the best damn fan and all of podcasting. Shameless plug. Yes, I'm smooth. All right. Today, recording day, as I mentioned, is Tuesday, December 12th, 2024. And it seems like we've been having a little bit of schizophrenic weather, like really, really winter, and then 5 degrees Celsius, and then really winter again.
Yeah.
So, who knows what we'll get today? But yesterday evening, pardon me, I have to sneeze.
Well, you're allowed to do that. I mean, there's no rules against it. You just want to mute yourself when you do so that we don't blow anybody's eardrums.
There you go. Sorry about that, kids and cubs. And I kind of knocked the camera when I pressed well, in this case, the sneeze button. So the cough button. And now the camera will not, of course. It's been this kind of morning. Okay. So I'm just going to hold this for a second. There we go. All right. A big thank you goes to our podcast funding sponsors, the Peppermaster, the Miss V Mystery from Corvin Moon Publishing, and CanadianTarot.com. Mr. Grizzly, how's your mental health today?
Let's just keep rolling. I don't even want to talk about it.
All right. I am surprisingly chipper. And for those who can see, apparently I have some volume on the booth, and I got that right there. So I'm actually rocking the evil stepmother from Cinderella hair today. Cool. All right, kids and cubs, in the news, there's a little bit of Canadian stuff that we will get to, but as the big thing occupying the minds of the globe right now is still Syria. I wanted to start with a little something. got two clips for you before we get into it. The first one is, well, not whatever order we play them in, doesn't matter. But one of them is an audio clip of Tariq Haddad of Peace by Chocolate, because he was in an interview with Matt Galloway of The Current yesterday.
Mhm.
And I just wanted, I think it's something that people should hear. So I wanted to include it. I tried to look to see if there was a video version of it, because sometimes they record the CBC personalities in the studio, and sometimes they will have a TV monitor there. So they're in by a video link, and then they film that and they show it. But there doesn't seem to be one for The Current. So it will be audio. So for those who are watching, it won't be the most visually stimulating thing. But what Mr. Haddad has to say is definitely worth hearing. And then a quick little profile on Abu Muhammad al-Jalani, because nobody knows who he is, at least in mainstream. Those who study this type of stuff know who he is, of course. That was presented on the National last night to give us a little idea. So that will give us some context for what is to come in the days, weeks, and months and years, if things go well. So, Mr. Grizzly, Grizzly's choice for whichever one you would like to play first.
Just give me a moment here while I'm queuing things up. I've got some other issues in the background that are slowing things down, so I'm just
Okay,
trying to fix them here.
no worries. I got
Another
some notes.
beautiful morning.
Yeah, no worries. I got some notes here that I can go in before. So, one of the things that happened over the last little while is that a new prime minister has been named. Now, listen, be careful the pronunciation here. It's Mohammed al-Bashir, because they just got rid of al-Bashar. So not the same place. So it's Bashir, Bashir. According to, in a audio report that I heard yesterday, where the person speaking was unattributed, but it was someone in Syria, I said, it's been 15 years during which we couldn't speak or express ourselves. And he had described Syria as living in a big prison. Al-Galani appointed interim officials to run the government at, I think, and it seems that the civil servants are back at work. I think they are trying to make something that is a situation that is not disruptive. So it's not like they're going in and wiping out all the civil services and, we're running things now. It looks like they're, so you guys were running things, like run stuff. We want to disrupt people as little as possible. There's already enough going on, it would seem, is the vibe here. Israel confirmed, as Mr. Grizzly stated on the show yesterday, that it was behind missile strikes on chemical weapon sites and missile and depots, other missile depots, I should say. The Israeli military says its actions are defensive as they wait to see what kind of new government emerges in Syria. Israel's foreign minister, Gideon Sa'ar, is raising concerns about attacks on Syrian Turkish forces, who he says fought bravely, and also they fought against ISIS during Syria's civil war. So, Israel kind of approves of that, and then Israel refers to them as a stabilizing force within the country. There are more people kind of making the comment about how this looks for Putin, in the sense that, well, Putin called what he's doing in Ukraine a special military operation, and there are some people that are out there saying, well, Syria is a particular embarrassment for Russia because this is how a special military operation is actually supposed to work. Dictators have thin skin. That type of commentary probably doesn't go over well.
Oh, no, he won't be able to handle that. All right, I've got the clip about Abu Mahad al-Golani.
Okay.
After commanding a lightning offensive toppling the regime of Bashar al-Assad in just 11 days, Abu Muhammad al-Jalani is set to be a major player in Syria's future. The leader of insurgent force Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, or HTS, Jalani has spent years trying to transform his image from jihadi extremist to a more moderate leader for all Syrians, an evolution that will now be put to the test.
Even though Abu Muhammad al-Golani has spoken about reconciliation, the group itself still harbors a lot of concerning ideological views.
If Jolani is smart, and he is smart, he's quite smart, he will reach out to other groups and say, we need to have a meeting, we need to start bringing people together.
I think the Islamists have evolved over the years, at least in their messaging. We need to see HTS continue in this policy to prove that they are moderating as they claim to be.
Jolani's rise to power starts in Iraq. That's where he joined al-Qaeda in 2003, leaving his native Syria to fight the U.S. invasion. Jolani was detained by the U.S. military for 5 years in Iraq before returning to Syria. Eventual ISIS leader Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi requesting Jolani establish an al-Qaeda presence in Syria just as the country was descending into chaos. Back on home soil, Jolani formed Jabhat al-Nusra, or the Nusra Front, the militant group quickly becoming one of the most powerful fighting forces in Syria's civil war, and designated a terrorist organization by many Western nations. The U.S. to this day has a $10 million bounty on Jolani.
Jolani is certainly not a Democrat. Let's be very upfront about that. He's an authoritarian.
As Syria's civil war intensified, the Nusra Front became more powerful. So did its leader, Jolani defying orders from al-Baghdadi to merge his group with ISIS. In 2016, in this video message, Jolani severed ties with al-Qaeda too. The Nusra Front was later dissolved, merging with other groups to become HTS.
Even though they may have uncoupled from al-Qaeda, they haven't totally abandoned some of their doctrine that would be a worry for minorities, for women, and also for the West's interest as well.
Jolani has tried to stem those concerns. Consider his public appearances. This 2013 Al Jazeera interview refusing to show his face, calling for Syria to be under strict Islamic law, dismissing the country's minorities.
We sat down together.
To hear, nearly 10 years later, a suit jacket on PBS calling for an end to the terrorist designation, saying his group posed no threat. Jolani, now in military fatigues, promising to protect all of Syria's diverse communities. Jolani preached inclusivity during the group's stunning offensive, HTS issuing statements to reassure Syria's Christians, Alawites, and other minorities.
My take on it is that the Islamists, led by Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, are really showing maturity. They want the Syrian people and the international community to accept them. They are trying to reassure the Syrian people. No harm to minorities, no revenge.
But for now, there's little sign that terrorist label will be lifted. While welcoming the end of a brutal dictatorship, Western leaders are expressing trepidation at Jolani's newfound power.
They're saying the right things now, but as they take on greater responsibility, we will assess not just their words, but their actions.
After Assad fled the country, Jolani met with Syria's deposed prime minister, discussing what comes next. Jolani's actions now set to chart Syria's future. Can he unite a fractured country? Will his promise of pluralism prove real?
All in all, we have to wait, but for the moment, let's join the Syrian people in this moment of hope and rejoice with them because they finally feel they are free.
So that's the question that I said yesterday, and we spoke of at length. You know, he's saying the right things now. Does he believe them? I certainly hope so.
And for how long?
I certainly hope so. Yeah. You know, there's a lot of variables involved. But if you do the right thing now, and you admit that in your past you did the wrong thing, and you realized you've, I don't know, seen the light, if you want, or discovered that, you know what, the way that you were doing it before wasn't working very well, so let's do something new. Mm-hmm. Perhaps, you know, I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful because, you know, they've been at war for so long. I'm hopeful that now with this new regime and things can change. We'll see. Time will tell. I mean, trepidatious to say the least.
Yeah, it's like, you know, it could very well be that for a lot of people, 51 years under the Assad regime was more than enough. Thank you very much. And maybe we shouldn't do the things the way we've always done them.
You know, time will tell. Right?
None of us seem to be happy that way.
Yeah.
Like I said, one of the reasons I remain an optimist is because I believe that humans always strive to improve their condition ultimately. And if we think of each other as humans, rather than as, Syrians or Islamists or whatever, whatever other group, or especially in opposition or in juxtaposition, but just as humans, regardless of the circumstances that we find ourselves in. Because, I mean, let's face it, all of us who were born in Canada kind of won a genetic lottery ticket there.
Yes.
Right? You don't get to choose the circumstances in which you are born into, and then everything that, the waters that you marinate in all your life that form your belief systems and the majority system around you. It's culture shock, I would assume, is really real if you come from a predominantly Muslim country and you come to Canada.
Oh, of course, it would be a shock.
Little things that are nothing to us.
Mm-hmm.
Being in the student hub in any major city on a Saturday night during the academic school year and seeing how people are dressed while they're waiting to get into the club.
Mm-hmm.
That might, for some people coming from places where that does not happen at all, there could be a lot of,
oh yes,
right?
Shock.
There's a lot to get used to, right? Like this, because the waters in which we've marinated all our lives are completely different.
Oh yes,
right. So it's there's a lot of people that will sit there. I can't understand. It's like, why would some of them go back? I mean, there's nothing there. And it's like, well, yes, because we've been fortunate to live all our lives in Canada. It's like, why would we want to go someplace where things are devastated? But we've had natural disasters here, and there are a lot of people that have gone back to where their towns or their neighborhoods have been decimated, and they want to rebuild too. Right? The concept of home and roots, knowing your roots and being connected. Like, even if you turn around and you say, you've come from somewhere else, like, my Beaver sweetie says, it's like, I'm Canadian now.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Well, he's
been
here most of his life.
Yes. But he'll always
Still
want to go back to Romania.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I understand.
Check and see, and, and visit family, and, and go spend some time there and go back to the mountains where he spent time in his childhood, and by the sea, by the water and all that, all the stuff that, I mean, there's a lot of stuff in there, especially like the years before 5,
of course.
all the years before 12 when he arrived here, there's a lot that shaped him that's there too. And that never disappears. And going back there to reconnect with that is, it's nourishing.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, I wonder if he feels the same way. I've had a number of friends who've immigrated to this country and have been here for a number of years, 10, 20, 15, 20 years. And one of the things that struck me as a bit of a surprise, I guess, it was a bit of a surprise. I wasn't shocked, but I was kind of, oh, really? Okay. They said, I will go back to the country I was born in to visit and see things and go to the places that I grew up in and visit family and friends. But I'm always happy to come back home to Canada. I said, really? He goes, yeah, this is my home. I've made my home here. That's where I'm from, but this is my home. And I thought, oh, okay. I wasn't shocked by it, but it was kind of a surprise to hear, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. Yeah, well, even when my sweetie said it, it's like I turned around and said, really? You consider your home now? And it's like, yeah. It's like, because that's a big step.
It is. It's like, that's where I'm from. This is my home. And I've heard that from a number of people, and I was kind of surprised at it.
It's a very forward-looking attitude toward life.
Yeah, yeah. Not shocked, but a little surprised, because I just didn't expect to hear it. But when I did, I was like, oh, cool.
But,
You
if we
won't
sort of,
fuss now.
yeah, I know that there are more than two kinds of people in the world, but I love Britney. So if you believe that there are two kinds of people in the world, you know, you have those who's like, yeah, the past is the past, but I'm here now and this is my home and I'm looking forward. And then you have people that are more nostalgic, right? Neither is right or wrong. It's just what your hardwiring is, right? You can make a case for both.
Yes, I suppose you
Right.
could. Yeah.
So, let's actually, you know what, that ties in well with what comes next. Let's listen to Mr. Haddad if he's set up.
Yeah, 1 second here. I don't know at what point. It's an 18-minute podcast, so I don't know.
Yeah, it's not the full 18 minutes. The first part is him. There might be a few commercials before because it's CBC for the first 30 seconds before the stuff with Matt Galloway starts when he does his intro.
Long live Syria, Assad has fallen. Celebrations erupted across Syria and around the world yesterday. They came after a stunning rebel advance seized the capital of Damascus Sunday morning, toppling Bashar al-Assad's regime and putting an end to his family's 50-year rule. Assad oversaw Syria's slide into civil war in 2011 after brutally suppressing a mass pro-democracy protest movement during the Arab Spring.
In my dream, I cannot imagine we will arrive to this moment. Do you know what happened now? The dictator is gone. Sorry. This is the freedom for Syria. We pay a huge price for that.
I have goosebumps all over. I couldn't sleep all night. We have been waiting for this moment for 14 years and it's finally here, and we just can't believe that it's truly, this is our reality now.
Assad has fled the country. The Kremlin says he's been given asylum in Russia. In a moment, we'll talk more about what this all means for the region. But first, I'm joined by Tariq Haddad. He came to Canada as a refugee from Syria in 2015. He's the founder and CEO of Peace by Chocolate. He's in our Halifax studio. Tariq, good morning.
Good morning, Matt. Thank you very much for having me.
You posted yesterday on Instagram, "It feels like a dream." What went through your mind as this news was unfolding?
It certainly felt like a dream. It was a moment of relief. It was a moment of joy. It was a moment of happiness. It was a moment of just thinking and reflecting on the past 14 years, even the 50 years before I was born, how much pain everyone in Syria had to go through just to celebrate. They didn't ask for much. They just basically asked for human rights, for freedoms, for democracy, for civil liberties, and everything basically just came together in a moment of celebration that I actually never thought it will come true in my lifetime, especially after all that has happened in the past decade, and that seeing my family scattered in 27 countries right now because of that dictator that is now gone. I think there is a lot of hope in the air.
What specifically were you thinking about? I mean, when you reflect back on not only your own family, but as you mentioned, the last 50 years, what specifically was going through your mind?
I was thinking about growing up in Damascus and being afraid all the time, the fears, looking over our shoulders for every single word that will come out of our mouth, seeing how my grandfather was always telling us that walls have ears. My mother, I would just give you an example there, Matt. When I was 9 years old, my toothless sister, when she was 8, will be on taxi rides in Damascus. I would look out, I would say, Wallah, when I am 40 years old, I will become the president of Syria and I will make you my prime minister. And my mother would look at us terrified to death from the front seat in that cab. And then she would say, shh, you can't say that. You can't dream of becoming a president or a prime minister in this country. These things are not for us. They are for the Assad family only.
The walls have ears.
The walls have ears, and everyone grew up with these. You know, we have pictures of the dictator in our classrooms, pictures of the dictators in our notebooks, pictures of the dictators on the streets, names of the public places, the amazing libraries, the streets, the squares, the buildings. Everywhere you would go at the airports, you would see him. So it was not only a relief, it was really, I think, a rebirth. Syria is really going through a rebirth right now after 50 years of living through darkness. So it's certainly a marvelous moment to celebrate. It is worth sitting back and just reflecting on all the things that will come true, that will happen. I remember also in 2012, I was in medical school at Damascus University, and me and my friends will be going out wearing lab coats and carrying flowers, asking for the release of our friends. Security forces, regime forces will break into the campus. They will kill many of my friends. They will arrest the rest, and we didn't know what happened to them. They disappeared, and just last night we discovered they are 3 floors underground in a mass slaughtered place in a prison called Saydnaya, which is on the outskirts of Damascus. So we are extremely happy. We're extremely excited. Hopefully they will be alive, like many of my family members that they went missing over the past decade.
As you mentioned, your family is scattered around the world because of the civil war. Tell me about, and you've hinted at this, but how close the war came to you and how you still feel the effects of that war.
It all started in 2011 with just peaceful protests, and then people basically were fed up with the use of violence by the regime. In 2012, it turned into a war that reached Damascus. And I remember the closest experience that came to me in 2012 in the middle of the summer. I came back from a training at the hospital, and then I had supper with my family. We went to bed in the middle of the night in July, a beautiful summer night. And then we started hearing explosions. Helicopters were hovering over us. Tanks and soldiers were setting up checkpoints. And these regime soldiers were breaking into each house in the neighborhood, taking every man between the age of 18 and 60 years old, lining them up against a wall, and they were shooting them in front of their kids and their families, just because they were afraid that these young men will become rebels, that they will fight the regime, they will fight the dictator. So my family, they were all terrified. We went to the basement of my grandmother's house. We were standing for 5 nights. There was not even a room for all of us. We were 60 members of my family living in that building. So we were sitting there for 5 nights without food, without medication, without the basics of life. And then on the 6th day, there was a ceasefire for an hour. And then my family all left the building, and now they are basically scattered. That's how my family got out of the country. But then my father said, no, we have to stay. This is our homeland. I said, Dad, it's a war. He said, I have a chocolate factory to run. And I said, Dad, it's a war. He said, people need to be happy. So my dad was that kind of a leader that he didn't really want to leave the country. Many Syrians did not want to leave the country. My sister didn't want to leave the country, and she's still there, by the way. So it's incredible, just to see it all unfold right now in a very short period of time, as we have been seeing on the news. But I think it all goes back to 2011, 2012, when really we started shaking the basis of this unlawful regime.
What are your hopes for Syria now, and for your sister, who is, as you say, is still there? What are your hopes for the country?
I really hope that Syria will come out of this stronger. I really hope that the resilient Syrian people will be able to come out of this and start rebuilding, start seeing what works and what doesn't. I think Syria comes from a place of an advantage right now because it is not too late. However, I always, I'm optimistic. I'm very hopeful. I see that Syria is learning the mistakes of many countries that have gone through significant change, like Tunisia, like Libya, like Egypt, like Yemen. Many of them that they did not go into a war, like Egypt, for example, and really see that what works is an institutionalized country. What works is the elimination of sectarianism, the elimination of bigotry, the elimination of intolerance, by really promoting a moment of reconciliation and supporting these civil liberties for those who are the most vulnerable in the community, really healing, just sitting back and healing. And really, I think that no matter what happens next, Matt, there's nothing worse to my homeland than what happened over the past 50 years. Nothing worse than seeing almost 13 million people, refugees or displaced inside the country. Nothing worse than seeing 600,000 people killed in 12 years in my own country. I really think that Syrians now, they know that they have to come together to find and build a country that they will be proud of very soon. I really hope I'm a proud Canadian citizen now. I really hope that I will get the chance to proudly tell my children in the future that I don't have yet, that they can go back and visit the homeland and really just be proud of the incredible heritage of the civilization and the culture that Syria is very proud of. Damascus is the most ancient inhabited place in the world, and I'm very proud to have been born there. But Syria is my home by birth. Canada is my home by choice. And I always try to make sense of these two.
Just finally, you are one of those people who was scattered by this war, one of the people who came to this country as a refugee. You posted on social media yesterday, now every person who used to be known as a Syrian refugee is a Syrian, just Syrian, a free and proud Syrian. Is that how you feel?
Absolutely. I feel that we are so proud to be Syrians, free Syrians, no matter where we are. So many of us are proud Syrian Canadians, Syrian German, Syrian Turkish. But I really hope that we can all go back to our roots, because my grandmother used to always say, you have to know where you came from to know where you're going.
It's good to talk to you as always, Tarek. Thank you very much.
My pleasure, my friend. Thank you.
Tarek Haddad came to Canada as a refugee from Syria in 2015. He is the founder and CEO of Peace by Chocolate. He was in our Halifax studio. Aaron.
There you go. So, yeah,
Yeah. I mean, what more can you say? Somebody posted the question, why would you stay behind? And I know why somebody would stay behind. Because this is my home, and I will not be driven from it. So I understand that.
You did that during the convoy.
Well, yeah, it's my home. You're not driving me out of it. This is my home, not yours.
You were offered.
Oh, yeah, I was. But I refused.
I mean, you literally made a point of it.
Yeah, I refused. It's like, no, this is my home. I'm not leaving. So I understand why somebody would stay behind. You know, this is my home. You will not drive me from it. So I do understand that. I also understand why people would leave. So I don't judge when it comes to that. It's everybody's going to respond in their own manner, in their own way, depending upon the circumstances in their lives at the time. So I couldn't pass judgment over anybody for staying or leaving.
Yeah,
it's a war zone. If you want to get out, you get out. If you want to stay, you stay. It's your choice. You know?
Yeah. So Kitland M says here, it's an impossible situation to understand if you've never had to try to live through it. I mean, I sit there like this, sometimes I sit there, if ever someone decides that they're going to try to liberate Canada, part of me is just like, it's like, hello? Yes, 2 tickets to somewhere in Norway or Uruguay or something, because survival instinct. And then there's another part, it's like for my cold dead hand, like fucking hell, you will.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I have no idea what it is. What it would be. Until it actually happens. When I'm faced with it, I mean, I could sit there and talk tough and say, it's like, yeah, they're gonna have to come and take it from me. I could say, it's like, Mama didn't raise no fool. I'm getting out of here. But it's like, when it happens, it's amazing. It's this summer. This is so far removed from what this is in terms of scale. But this summer, when things were going rough for us at one point, I was like, there might be a cost to this, but what we are buying is peace.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it sucks that we're going to have to part some money, but if we buy peace, it's a good expense.
Oh, yeah.
I'm willing to consider it a good expense. And we had decided that we were going to do that. And then something came from the other side that just flipped a switch. I was like, oh, fuck. Now I just was like, okay, then take us to court. Come chase us. It was just like, it just got my back up. Right. And I was, ready to go for it until I bypassed the anger center and went back to the rational center. And it's like, no, it's still worth it to buy peace. Even though you are still like, but it's like, that was like, when it's like, you're walking away like this, you think you've agreed on something and you walk away and somebody mumbles something under their breath, but you actually do hear it.
Mm-hmm.
And you just want to turn around and just clock them one. It's like, you other.
I recommend you don't do that.
No,
but
you
I
don't
do understand that
wanting that feeling. So yeah, that was it. It was like, okay, you know what, you want? Let's make this painful for him. And it's like, no, that's a lot of time and energy and expense that could be better put elsewhere, like actually living my best life. So, which ultimately is the best revenge. Just so you know. for those of you who are petty. It's just living well, the best revenge. So, whatever living well is for you. So yeah. And Kit Lindem also in a previous comment, says, I'm Canadian now, and you couldn't pay me to go back to the U.S. Tarek Haddad said in his interview, says, it's like, Canada is my home now, right? Because I know you were wondering that yesterday, so that was one of the reasons. It's like, oh, we actually have an answer to the question, and it was unprompted. Mr. Haddad just volunteered it, just came out of him. So more that type of stuff is more likely to be sincere.
Oh yes,
if it's unprompted. So but it's a Kit Hugh had a comment yesterday in the chat that I noticed that really sums it all up really well. Said, in some decades nothing happens, and in some days decades happen.
Very true.
That's literally when I started the show yesterday. It's like, so the world may be pivoting.
Yeah.
Perhaps.
Yeah.
That's what's going on there. So as I mentioned, Mohammed al-Bashir is now the prime minister of HTS controlled, and they're calling themselves the Syrian Salvation Government, SSG, and will head the transitional authority and act as Syria's prime minister as the transition is going through. Al-Jalani allegedly wants the names of those accused of torture and other war crimes under Assad's regime. That could give a hint that there would be some type of reckoning coming. Now, he has made comments in the days leading up without vengeance, so maybe he is thinking of actual trials rather than execution. But that gives a hint that there will be some consequences for the members of the Assad regime and those who cooperated, I would assume. Linnea Arvidsson, who is the United Nations Syria Commission coordinator, talked about the cells that Mr. Haddad mentioned in his interview. That's 3 stories deep underground. She says that when you see all the images of political detainees being released from prisons, right, a lot of these people were not necessarily criminals, just deemed to be criminal by the Assad regime and just disappeared. Yesterday when I said like some people were already going back, and you asked like, why would people go back? There's nothing there. Some people are going back to see if some of the detainees are family members they haven't seen in 18, 12.
Yeah, a long time.
How many years? So that's another thing. Again, another reality that I just cannot possibly imagine and wrap my head around.
No.
As a Canadian who was born here, has lived life here. But Linnea Arvidsson said, to see these underground cells windowless where people spent years and decades not seeing sunlight is just harrowing. And the conditions that we have heard about are really matched by what we are seeing, because this is the first time that they actually have been able to go into the detention facilities in Syria since 2011 and see what was up. So there is going to be a lot more news coming from this part of the world over the next bit. The transition, a lot of people are going to be looking at that, see what's going on. But we are also, as groups like Amnesty International, and let's go in and start investigating and taking stories down, and we're going to be hearing a lot of things that'll make our hair rise up on our forearms to see this, coming from there, because they were butchers.
Oh yes.
So it's not going to be easy, right? But there is hope at the current moment. And like I said, Al-Jilani is saying the right things. Hopefully that materializes. Hopefully it seems that the international community is prepared to take a wait-and-see stance. I mean, Israel is bombarding chemical depot sites, but isn't actually destroying neighborhoods and going after targets. The United States is not jumping in to try and impose the regime that it wants. They're willing,
No.
but the world is willing to see if they are actually going to negotiate with different factions and to try to create some type of parliament, maybe a parliament of city councilors,
It's interesting.
or something like that, as opposed to because each region, the HTS group, I can't remember the name of it, I'm sorry. The HTS group is not big enough to control all of Syria. I mean, Syria, when it has everybody there, is a country of 23 million people.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I mean, there's 12 million displaced, but that's a lot. Syria is a big country, and as Mr. Haddad mentioned, right, Damascus is the world's oldest still inhabited city. I mean, it's a civilization.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It has a very proud, long-standing tradition. It has contributed a lot to the world. It's like, don't let the last 51 years, the destruction and the oppression, give you the wrong impression of what Syria is.
No, it's been
in the
there for
history,
a millennia.
right? So there's going to be a lot. Like I said, if this group can, if all these groups can come to some way that their individual views are respected where it is in the country, that they control stuff and they can all live in some type of coexistence. Because while, again, by Western standards and freedom and whatnot, this might be far from ideal, it would be one hell of a
it's entirely a step in a new
from
direction.
what's been there for 51 years.
I have to step away for a few minutes. I'll be back shortly.
Absolutely. So again, I'm hearing more and more comments from actual Syrians and people who understand this, again, confirming, you know what? Yes, we do not know what the future holds. Yes, it is possible that they are just saying the right things and that things take a wrong turn. Yes, it is possible that he might be more moderate than the others behind him, and they might like that and might be seeking to take him out eventually if they find him too moderate, and then go back to regular scheduled programming. All these stuff can be true, but also, let's. They're saying just let us celebrate. Let us have this. It's been 51 years. Like the sense of freedom that we have right now, this overall sense of freedom and joy, even though there's fear and trepidation for what the future might bring. I guess, can we have this? Because this has not been a thing in a long time. So it's, I kind of agree with that myself. I mean, there'll be plenty of time to talk about what the worst possible case scenario can be and all the bad things that can be and how certain things might not be ideal. But it's, like I said, this is very monumental, not only for the people in Syria, but for everyone in the world, because, there's, as I mentioned yesterday, Russia is affected in some way, probably as a result of Russia being affected that much. There is maybe a global opportunity for China in some way that hasn't yet revealed itself. Iran is affected in some way. Israel is affected in some way when it comes to this. Even the United States is affected in some way. They have about 1,000 troops there, already. So it's there's a lot that is going to play out. And if you think of it like as a domino trail, right, where you push one and then all of them happen, there'll be certain parts in this trail where there are like two dominoes side by side, where one domino makes two dominoes fall, and there are other trails, and then they'll split off and split off. There's a lot of tentacles to this, to how it could change a lot in global geopolitics over the next coming years, and opportunity for more change. The more the change in Syria itself is smooth and stable and sustainable. So if they are able to do this and they are able to make this last, said that it completely changes all the pieces on the chessboard for all the players. It just becomes a new reality, which creates hope, because there's opportunity for lots of good stuff, but also creates a situation where people will be dealing with each other in new ways, with trying to build relationships of trust with not a lot in the background to build that in, so it makes it easier to maybe take someone the wrong way, or dismiss someone, or maybe not work on a problem as quickly, or just write someone off as being of bad faith instead of giving them time to get through the process. All these things can happen. All these things that happen in between people and interpersonal dynamics can happen also on a global scale in international dynamics. So there are some potential pitfalls as well. There's plenty of places and things on which people can trip along the way, and how much you assume the others are of good faith in this process, when there are trips and stumbles, and people's worst instincts get hold of them first, or they may impetuously say something that's ill-advised first. So there's going to have to be a lot of will from all sides to put water in the wine, or to pull back, or to pump your brakes if things get a little more emotional or tense in this process. But it is possible. It is possible. And like I said, we have to hope, man. We have to. I mean, what's the alternative, man? The alternative is just pessimism and being dark and heaviness. And again, it's not a life. It's not a life. So I'm choosing optimism. Tempered optimism. I mean, I'm a realist about what part of the world this is in. But this is the brightest moment in the last 51 years. If not now for optimism, when are we going to risk it? So that's my take on it. Again, not being naive, but making a choice, a conscious choice, to be hopeful and wanting to extend some benefit of doubt, and see how things play out organically, naturally. When you have enough smart people, emotionally intelligent people who are of goodwill, it can be done. It can be done. All right. So, Syria. Just the comments in the chat, by the way, kids. You are absolutely phenomenal today. I am very impressed with the quality of the content. I am, seriously. I'm blown away today. Thank you so much, kids and cubs. Oh, Uncover the News. By the way, happy birthday, dear one. I hope it's a fantastic one, but actually has some breaking beaver news for us, apparently. Beavers returned to National Park after 600 years. Willow and Wilson were introduced to part of the South Downs National Park near Petersfield in Hampshire on Monday evening. Yay! And it's that people are sending me beaver gifts and memes, and somebody sent me one the other day. It's a beaver with a shot of booze and said, "Here's your beaver shots." I love cheeky humor, so thank you, Kits and Cubs. Apparently, beavers were wiped out in the UK 600 years ago, so this is a big deal. Beavers in the UK again. Woohoo! All right. Okay. If it's beaver news, we got to bring it to you. It's just the show. All right. What else do we have for you today, Kids and Cubs? Oh yes. The title of the show today happens to be the name of the person that police in the United States were looking for. I think hopefully when we do the rewrite and stuff like that, we will change it, because I have a personal policy of not wanting to glorify people who commit these types of actions by mentioning their name, and I do try to do a very good job at not mentioning their names. But I remember one time on one show I was reading a quote and the person's name was in there, and I was like, oh crap, shit. So I try to not do that. But yes, his name is, if you're watching right now live, is the title of the show today. He's a 26-year-old man, and it was following a 5-day manhunt. He was arrested at a McDonald's in Altoona, Pennsylvania. They had trouble finding him because video he had been basically had his face covered in some way basically the entire time he was in New York City, and he was there for quite a while. And the last video images that they had of him in New York City was at the Port Authority bus station leaving. So they didn't know exactly where he was for a while. But going through all the video, they were able to find one quote unquote money shot, clearer one of his face along the way. And it seems that an employee at the McDonald's in Altoona, Pennsylvania, recognized him and phoned it in. At the time of arrest, he had an illegal ghost gun, similar to the one I think that was found on site. Not sure.
No, it's similar to the one described in the video that he
described in the video. Okay.
And so ghost guns, for those of you who don't know, are 3D printed guns you can print at home. There's no serial number. They're untraceable. It's becoming a more popular thing.
Yep. So he had a ghost gun and a fake driver's license. So in Pennsylvania, he was arraigned on forgery and weapons charges. He will probably be sent back to New York State at some point to face other charges.
Pretty big manhunt, though, for one guy, right? When you consider how many people were murdered in the United States of America last year and how many manhunts took.
There's a lot of resources.
What? A rich guy was killed. So yes, let's pull out all the stops to find him.
Yes. Officers also recovered a 3-page handwritten document that exposed his motivation and mindset, and it slams corporate America. It seems
he has ill will toward corporate America.
Yes.
So would that be 330 million people?
Well, I'm leading somewhere with that, because you are actually hinting at where I'm going with this. It seems the suspect was carrying a manifesto when arrested, and United Healthcare was specifically mentioned in it. United Healthcare is particularly important because the CEO that this person assassinated, his name was Brian Thompson, and he was the CEO of United Healthcare, which by the name, I'm sure you can guess, is a medical insurance company. And those are so beloved in the United States of America.
The CEO, Bob Thompson, I think, Brian Thompson, sorry. He was attending the annual investor conference.
Yes, and there again, and this is something listening to the Daily Beans show host, Dr. Allison Gill, said, and I believe it too, and the problem right there is that with regard to health, there's a shareholders meeting to go to in the first place.
Do you get how that's just bizarre? I mean, the
Now-
idea behind that just throws me for a loop. It's just, it's disgusting. It's disgusting.
Yep. So, and the only one of the OECD nations to do that. It would seem that, if everybody's turning around, again, if they're doing the whole Republican, Democrat thing, whatnot, this might be someone more from the left side of things, possibly. It seems that
It comes
there
from
were,
money, though.
yeah, well, that's why I said possibly. So it would appear that the bullets had words written on them: deny, defend, depose. That's a shout out to legal strategies used by health insurance companies in the United States to deny claims. Usually it's deny, delay, defend. Something like that the slogan goes, or the three words. So that gave a hint at the time prior to them finding him with the 3-page manifesto on him. He did, as Mr. Grizzly says, come from a wealthy family, and a family that owns 2 country clubs, 9 nursing home facilities in Maryland, along with a commercial radio station in Baltimore. He was also not a dummy. He graduated from an all-boys private school in North Baltimore in 26 as the valedictorian of his class. Came from a wealthy family. Was known to be an excellent student. 26 years old. However, during the past few years, the suspect is said to have been dealing with painful back issues, and in recent months, this year, seemed to have cut himself off from friends and family. So, went down a rabbit hole somehow.
Well, tough
Watch
to
out for
say.
new behavior, kids and cubs, when people that you love start to suddenly cut themselves off from you.
It's tough to say if he went down a rabbit hole, though, because apparently he had personal issues with United Health because of insurance claims denials for family members.
But that's
apparently
the whole thing, right? So if it comes from a wealthy family and even they are having troubles.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. Right, left, there's so much there that can be. So again, don't know.
There's not a person in that country who is not affected by health insurance in the United States. Not a person. Rich, poor, everybody gets screwed over, and everybody will tell you they've been screwed over.
Disliking your insurer isn't a right or left issue. It's a human issue.
That's right. So listen to this, though. So this Thompson fellow was the CEO of United Healthcare, the insurance arm of United Health Group that has about 50 million American customers. The unit, so one wing, saw $281.4 billion US in revenue in 2023, nearly double that of the next largest US health insurer. Why? Delay, defend, deny.
Now, the reason this has, by the way, because he was going to an investor meet, of course, was shot in broad daylight, right? Which also sends a message. Brian Thompson was a longtime UHC executive and in charge specifically of its massive health insurance business. Okay, so this is probably not an accident, and he was probably specifically chosen. Now, the reason this, other than him being rich, is that as we just mentioned, right? If you're an American, hating your health insurer is neither a Republican or a Democrat thing. It's just an American thing. So it has unleashed a wave of public anger and celebration, a la Eat the Rich, against the company and the broader healthcare insurance industry, which in the United States is the most expensive in the world. Yes. So we have people going around going, it's like, do I really need to remind people that it's probably not cool to celebrate as a principle someone being assassinated in broad daylight as a matter to resolve your issues, no matter what? I was like, yeah, you probably do need to remind, because there's a little, if we're just thinking on pure black and white, somebody killed someone and everybody's going, yay, that's probably a little disturbing. So we might want to check in on that. But also, somebody kills someone and everyone goes, yay. You all who are wondering about us, our morals, might want to look into why people are saying yay.
Yeah. Well, look at this from Tim. Even Ben Shapiro fans were not upset. That's telling. Because everybody in America gets screwed over by their insurance companies. Rich, poor, you name it. Everybody gets screwed over.
Yeah. There is more than just one issue of morality at play here.
For-profit healthcare is evil.
So
evil.
There's part of me, to be totally honest, is surprised that this doesn't happen way more often. Considering the rate of medical bankruptcy?
In all honesty, and this is hand to heart, truth be told, I'm surprised this is the first time this has happened. I mean that. In a country where people go on about their Second Amendment rights without actually knowing what the full right entails. A well-regulated militia. But when people carry on about the Second Amendment, you can't change the Second Amendment. Actually, you can. That's why it's called an amendment. Anyway, I'm surprised this is the first time this has happened. I genuinely, sincerely am surprised it's the first time it's happened.
And now, layer on top of that for the future, women bleeding out.
Mm-hmm.
And what the people who love them might do in reaction.
What was the Denzel Washington
not good.
film? You remember the Denzel Washington film a few years ago where he held the
John Q.
hospital? Yes. Yeah. Held the hospital hostage, basically. John Q was based on a true story? Really? I didn't know that. According to Ms. Shadika, John Q was based on a true story. I was not aware of this.
I'll look that up.
I'm also not surprised because, I mean, come on. You know, and the scene where, you know, he was about to sacrifice himself and said, use my heart and give that. I think it was the heart transplant. I can't remember exactly the details. It's been a while since I've seen it.
Oh, my God.
I didn't know that was based on a true story.
It's based on a true story, Canadian story.
Really?
Yes. John Q is a fictionalized story, but it was inspired by a true incident when that was shared by a SWAT team advisors who told them about a similar incident that occurred in Toronto in 1999. A man took an ER hostage after the hospital wouldn't provide immediate care for his infant son. So it wasn't related to insurance. It's that they would provide care immediately.
Yeah. Okay.
So they took the concept
and
twisted that happened and then put a different story to it.
Yeah, and I'm sure we've all been in ER at some point in time when you see somebody come in and demand treatment immediately. That happens a lot. I've seen it more than once. That's why I hate going to the ER, because you do see people at their worst behaving their worst oftentimes. And I feel for those people because
they're in pain.
They're suffering, right? So they want relief as quickly as possible. And I understand that. I know what it's like to suffer. I know what it's like to sit in pain for days on end, suffering to no end. But I guess my approach to it is different than others, probably because I've been suffering in pain since I was a child. So I just, always learn to not take it out on others.
Yeah. I'm looking into it here. April 17th, 2001 on CBC, there was a coroner's inquest that was released into it. And it says, not released, that it's starting. Coroner's inquest began into the 1999 fatal police shooting of a 26-year-old man at St. Michael's Hospital on New Year's Eve. Police shot the person who had committed the assassination while he was holding what appeared to be a gun to a doctor's head. It turned out to be an unloaded pellet gun. The man had taken his infant son to the emergency room because he was suffering from an asthma attack. During testimony, the coroner's lawyer told the jury that the man who was ultimately taken out by police had been told there were no pediatricians on duty and there would be a 45-minute wait before a doctor could see his son. Witnesses said that he went berserk, pulled out a gun wrapped in a towel. The coroner's lawyer said said the man put the gun to a doctor's head, demanded his son be immediately seen, and forced the doctor to the floor. The police were called and 2 officers fired at the man, who was handcuffed and minutes later died. His son was not hurt during the incident and is living with his family. Ontario Special Investigation Unit looked into the case and found the officers' response was legally justified because they did not know what kind of weapon was being brandished. Because the attempted assailant died while in police custody, an inquest into his death was mandatory. His family says that they were not satisfied with the outcome of the police investigation, hoped that new information would emerge during the inquest. And then, so that was the as was testified at the inquest, which was the situation on that day. But yeah, I didn't know that either. I didn't know that John Q was inspired at all by a real incident.
Yeah, I didn't know. It's, things you learn, right? By just watching this show that we learn.
The Dan family.
While doing it.
If you put us all together, our collective knowledge, we probably know a lot about a lot of things.
Well, I would assume so, yes.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of cool. All right. Some Canadian stuff. Some movement on things like this, but not tons of drama. So Chrystia Freeland has indicated that the Liberals will table the fall economic statement on December 16th. We mentioned that yesterday, that Pierre the Magnanimous came down from the heavens, said, and I will allow you 2 hours to be able to put this down in the House. And Chrystia Freeland said, yeah, you can take those 2 hours and stuff it. I'm just going to. So according to Davis Legree from iPolitics, Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland will table the government's fall economic statement on December 16th. The highly anticipated fiscal update, often referred to as a mini budget, provides a look at Canada's current economic circumstances. It has also historically included new government spending, though that is not a requirement. Last year, Freeland promised the government would keep the deficit for the 23-24 fiscal year below $40.1 billion, in addition to pledging that Canada's deficit to GDP ratio would decline in 2024-2025, and deficits would remain below 1% of GDP in 2026-2027. She called those her guardrails. It appears that the $40.1 billion probably will be blown past. According to the independent parliamentary budget officer, According to the independent parliamentary budget officer, who recently predicted that Canada blew past its $40 billion projected deficit and will likely come in at 46.8. The final numbers will be detailed in the yet unreleased public accounts, which Freeland said would be made public before the end of the year. So we might not know that number specifically on the 16th, but a little later in December. The PBO also said that it's predicting the government has already spent more in 2024-25 than it has predicted in last spring's budget, even before including a planned 2-month GST holiday, which is estimated to cost $1.6 billion. It could actually come in up to $2.7 billion if all the provinces invoke their right to be compensated for the provincial portion of the sales tax that will also not be charged.
So the GST holiday, which Pierre Poilievre has called a tax trick, the same one he supported 3 years ago.
Yep, for half the time. Supported it for just 1 month. Yeah.
You look up the word hypocrisy in the dictionary and it'll have his photograph, because he's the biggest damn hypocrite, politically speaking, I think we've ever had in this country.
Oh, yeah. And again, when you're talking about the policies like this, the checks versus the GST cut, and I made the comment before that it seems that the checks are sort of done behind the back of a napkin, but the GST had a little more. Again, timing, right? It goes until just about Valentine's Day, so all of January, when usually people don't shop as much. There's that benefit there, especially for restaurants. They're included, right? It's not just grocery food, so that kind of helps there too, leading into Valentine's Day. If Valentine's Day is included, let's say it ends on the 15th, well, includes the restaurants for that. So there was some thought put in there to try to get people to go out.
The checks weren't thought out at all, not well, because the people who need it the most aren't getting it.
No. No. And Pierre's going like, this is inflationary, although he never said that anytime any provincial conservative premier doled out a check. But at this point, given that, the economy is doing okay, like, for example, our recent job numbers were pretty good. I think it was 51,000 jobs, I think, if I'm not mistaken, or 36. I'd have to check up the number, but it was a good number. The problem is, but our unemployment rate still went up. Why? More people are feeling positive about the workforce now, decide to join the workforce. They say that they are actively looking for work. Yes. So the unemployment rate goes up a little bit, and then we're talking about interest rates, and they're looking for signals. Is the economy cooling? Well, if the unemployment rate is still going up, then some people, and wages are still going up, but they're not going up as fast as they were the whole previous year, but they are still going up. Then these are all signs that the economy is cooling and could use maybe a little stimulus. So actually, this little GST cut and the extra 250, even though, yes, technically this type of spending is inflationary, Pierre is also saying, it's like the economy is growing at the slowest pace of like this. Well, how about a little stimulus and we'll solve that, right? So,
but he's going to axe the tax. So the GST break is a tax trick, but if he axes the tax, that's good for you. And once again, I'm going to have to say this for those of you who aren't aware. The carbon regulatory recovery fee is not a tax.
No. Supreme Court said so, ruled so.
It's not a tax. And you get more back than you pay into it.
The reason...
what's the percentage again? Like 85 or something like that?
About 80% of households, yes. And the reason it is not a tax is because it has that rebate function that gives 80% of households more than they put in. That specifically. Name another tax that works that way. I'll wait.
I can't, because there isn't any. Because
Right.
It's not a tax.
It's a regulatory fee.
Regulatory recovery
It behaves like a regulatory fee.
And the idea behind it is to incentivize you to reduce, reuse, recycle, change your ways, so that when your numbers drop, it benefits you and the planet.
Yes,
because we don't have a planet B.
It's based on fundamental principles of consumer psychology and consumer behavior.
Oh, yes.
Because no matter what the reality of your money coming in is, right? Let's put it this way. Remember when we talked about the price of eggs the other day?
Mm-hmm.
And we said, you're still old enough to remember 2 years ago what the price of eggs were, and you still look there and you go, oh my God, it was so less expensive 2 years ago. Even though, let's say you're one of these people who has a union, who's just negotiated a deal that's going to give you 18% more or 22% more over the next 3 years. Like this, as wages are increasing higher than inflation. At one point, your amount of money that you get is going to make that gap smaller, but you still, at the price point, you still remember the price 2 years. You could be getting paid $10,000 more this year than you were last year. You still remember at the point of purchase, and you go, "Oh my God, this is so expensive!" Even though you could maybe even afford it more now. Let's say you got a big raise like this, and you're doing better than you were. You still remember it was less than. It's consumer psychology. Keep on raising the price at the point of purchase, which is what the carbon tax does, and maybe at the point of purchase, when you're making a decision to buy, you make another choice because this is too expensive, and you make a better and a greener choice. That's the whole point, and it works.
Mm-hmm.
It works. It's been tested before. It works. That's where they got the idea to do it on this because it's worked for other stuff. And they said, "Hey, let's see if it works here too." So, I mean, this is people have thought about this.
Mm-hmm.
All the money that we invest in tax dollars to provide all people with education, some of them use that tax dollars to come up with this system that actually works and leaves you, most of us, more money in the pocket. Like, this is so great. This is the particular time moment I would love a truth in advertising law. political advertising law, because it wouldn't be axe the tax, it would be negate the rebate. That's what he would be campaigning on. Because we're going to be, mark my words, we are going to be paying that fee one way or another. Whether it is embedded in the price and hidden from us, like the manufacturer's tax was in the days before we had the GST. We don't really know it and we don't really see it, but we are still paying it. The government's still collecting it and is still remitting it because we still want to export our products.
It was 13%. So it actually, when the GST came in, it actually dropped prices for a lot of things.
Yes. So
a lot of things, because it was 7% GST as opposed to 13% manufacturer's tax, which was hidden.
Yeah. So, and it gave people the choice. Manufacturer's tax, you had to pay it no matter what. This is GST, right? How much tax you pay depends on how much you spend.
I'd still like
and
to
on
see,
what on, because there are certain things that are exempt.
Marginal tax rate applied to corporations once again.
Yes.
So that we could get rid of the GST and their marginal tax rate would pay the difference. And they would also do things like they used to do prior to the dropping of marginal tax rates, which was anything over 10 million, you got taxed at 70, 80, or 90%. So what the company would do was to reduce their tax burden. They would reinvest money back into the company, pay their employees better, give their employees programs where they could, mortgage their home through the company. Or as an example, they would have daycares at their, like they did these things to reduce their marginal tax rate, and we benefited as a result.
Mm-hmm.
But all that came to a screeching halt in 1980, January of 1980, when Ronald Reagan, was it 81?
Probably elected in 80 and took office in 81.
Took office in 81, yeah. When he took office, that was when it all changed and went to shit.
Yeah.
He got rid of the fairness doctrine. He got rid of the marginal tax rate. And basically the world we have today is largely based on what he did, along with Margaret Thatcher.
Yep.
And then, of course, Brian Mulroney followed up by doing similar things like privatizing Air Canada, which, as we know, has worked out really great.
Yeah. Yes.
Because now you can't carry on anything.
Well, I mean, carry your personal laptop thing, like that. But if you have like one of those, if you were the person that just packed a carry-on little bag, with that little trailer with the cart, rolling bag that you would put up there, and like compress everything, like a week's worth of clothes in a small thing, like this, and wear 5 layers and whatnot. Yeah, like you got to pay for that now.
That's what
and
I
if
do.
you want to change your seat, you want to pay for that now too.
I hate to check my bags.
Yeah,
I hate it. I hate it with a passion.
Now
I hate having to struggle to get it off. It's a relief when you can just walk off the plane. But every time I check my bags, they either lose it or something gets stolen from it.
Yes.
I hate to check my bags. And here's the best part. They'll steal from you. You can write them a letter and say, hey, you aren't you? And they go, no, sorry, you're on your own. What? So you've given license to the baggage handlers to rip me off. Thank you very much. I'll never check a bag with you again. And I meant that with Air Canada, and I have never checked a bag with them since. That's been over 20 years, and I will never, ever, ever check a bag with Air Canada.
But now you have no choice.
No. I'll pay $50 to carry it on the plane. I'm not checking it. I don't give a shit. And that's only if I have to fly with them.
But that's
only if I have to fly with them.
That's right. So, but now you need to pay for that.
Yes. Yeah, privatization works great, right? Yeah, prices come down. No, they don't.
Sent you a little message here since we got on that tangent there. Theo Moudakis had it really well. So it's like, dear Air Canada, if you happen to be listening, remember back in the days of Saturday Night Live when they had that sketch called Total Bastard Airlines?
Mm-hmm.
Where people getting off the plane and they've had a couple of claims. Bye-bye. But you were so bye-bye. You're so, what part did you not understand? The buh or the bye?
Or the bye.
Bye-bye. Like this, and there was one of them where they were said this is your stop, and then they did, the plane was still flying and they handed them a parachute and they pushed them, bye-bye. This is like, we don't even land anymore. Right? This is your stop. So yeah, Theo Moudakis again nails it. It's a passenger literally being pushed out of the Air Canada plane in the air, going, not in love with their new carry-on policy.
Yeah. Very apropos.
Air Canada, The Total Bastard Airline skit was not a how-to manual. Love, but we don't really like you very much right now, Canada. But back to the carbon tax stuff, and then we'll get back to because we looped around. Another thing that is going to make this a little more difficult for PP and the Conservatives is that the Liberals did a clever little move that didn't get a lot of publicity, but back in October, and this is from Christy Dabu of CTV News National Affairs. Hundreds of thousands of Canadian small and medium-sized businesses will receive carbon rebates by December. The federal government said Tuesday that it will send more than $2.5 billion to about 600,000 businesses. This is a Tuesday in October, of course. The Canada Carbon Rebate for small businesses is a refundable tax credit that returns a portion of the carbon price revenue to eligible companies in jurisdictions where the federal fuel charge applies for the 2019 to 2020 to 20 to 23, 2024 fuel charge years, according to Canada Revenue Agency on its website. A fuel charge year runs from April 1st to March 31st, so I'm guessing they're making this retroactive to 2019.
Looks like
interesting. That's a little boost for businesses. The finance minister will indicate the payment rates for each designated province for a calendar year. The designated provinces considered eligible for the payments in certain years are shown. There's a chart here on the Canada Revenues Agency website. And a business in a non-designated province or territory will still be eligible for the rebate if it meets the government's eligibility requirements and had at least one employee in a designated province in the calendar year in which the fuel charge year began, according to the CRA. Businesses don't have to apply for the carbon rebate, as the government will calculate it and automatically issue the amounts to those who are eligible. The CRA advises business owners to enroll in direct deposit in order to receive payments quickly and securely. So, yeah, it seems now that carbon rebates are not only going to individuals, but small and medium businesses for theirs. So, and that's first check is coming in December. At some point or before. So there'll be one or two before the next election of those more coming in. So Pierre is not only now campaigning on nullifying, removing, canceling your rebate if you receive one, thus making your life more expensive, but those of small and medium businesses throughout the country who also qualify. Who've had a hard go of it with COVID, could probably use the extra money. Be very interesting to see Dan Kelly of the Canadian Federation. Let's see if what he's going to say about that one.
The Canadian Taxpayers Federation?
No, the Canadian Federation of Independent Businesses, I think it is.
Oh, okay. I'm not sure.
Canadian Federation of Independent Business. Yeah, that's right. Because he doesn't like the carbon tax, but now that small and medium businesses are getting the rebate, and I don't know if the rebate will leave 80% of them better off like it does, citizens. But now will he be so eager to remove it? Interesting.
Yeah, we'll find out.
But while Pierre is trying to make it seem less acceptable, it seems that the federal government is trying to get a couple of more people in the business community actually to like it and see if it works for them. So it's an interesting development. We'll see how that pans out. But it didn't get a lot of publicity. So it's so if you happen to be operating a small and medium business, you might want to look into that. There might be some money for you. Get some cups.
In other stories, this is interesting.
Well, we deviated from the fiscal statement thing that I wanted.
I didn't know you were still on it.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, we went off. We went off, but I want to finish.
Go ahead. I'm getting a coffee.
Yeah, but put a pin in that one because I want to talk about it. So all this to come back to the economic statement from Chrystia Freeland. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre, of course, has accused the Liberals of losing control of the country's purse strings. Liberals tabled a full economic statement each year since 2016. Freeland says, our government is focused on delivering fairness for every generation. We're building 4 million more homes, making life more affordable for all Canadians, and growing the economy to create more good jobs, and we are doing this in a fiscally responsible way. I look forward to presenting the next steps in our economic plan to deliver a good middle-class life for everyone. And see, the thing is, the thing that bothers me about Pierre's position is that he believes, he seems to be believing that there's a way to build all these homes, make life more affordable for Canadians, and invest in growing the economy without spending more. Like, if we have to do more of these things at the moment because we have a housing crunch, then wouldn't it make sense that it would cost us more? And that we shouldn't be shocked or considering it like, oh my God, it's a terrible thing. And the economy, they're destroying us because we happen to be spending more, because we happen to have to do more. Like at this particular time, there seems to be a lot more to do than usual because we've let a couple of things slide. So it would cost more. And it's not that anybody's particularly mismanaging stuff. See, this is the thing I can't understand, right? It's okay to not like someone, right? I don't understand why this guy can't say, like, this guy is just not my cup of tea. There always has to be an extra additional layer of ominous super villain. He's a criminal. He's this. He has no ethics. He's breaking the country completely. There always has to be this extra layer of thing. It can't just be, you know what? He just leaves me cold. Sorry. It's like, he leaves me cold. And he's destroying the economy for all the future generations. Not really my style. And he's trying to get your kids hooked on drugs. I mean, it's so tired.
Yes, it is. And it's troublesome that he gets away with it. Just continues to tell these lies and just gets away with it every damn day.
God. So, not yet sure where it is she is going to deliver it from, whether or not she's going to do it in the house. She has to table it in the house at some point, but that's just, I table these documents and then it goes, goes through. But, and there'll have to be a vote eventually. But whether or not she's going to present it in the house anyway on the 16th somehow, and the Liberals found another way to make that happen, or she's going to present it somewhere else, but it is happening on the 16th. There you go. Mr. Grizzly.
Well, Pierre Poilievre likes to tell us how broken Canada is, how, Trudeau has raised the price of everything from mortgages to groceries, and that he's made the cities and streets more dangerous, and that there's drug dens in every town, and you can't walk around the city at night anymore because, according to Pierre Poilievre, all this has been done by Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. Except according to Berkshire Hathaway, Canada has been named the third safest country in the world to visit in 2025. Iceland's in first, Australia's in second, and Canada's in third. We fell a couple of spots because in last year, 2024, this year we're currently still in, actually, we were number one.
Ooh.
So we were number one in 2024. Switzerland was number two, and Norway was number three. Ireland number 4, and the Netherlands number 5. That was 2024. In 2025, number 1 is Iceland, 2 Australia, 3 Canada, 4 Ireland, 5 Switzerland. The UK is at 13, and last year they were at 6. The United States isn't even in the top 30, I think. So, but anyway, I'm not being smug. It has to do with gun control. No, that's what it has to do with gun control. That's what it is. It says point blank right here in the report. It says the results of the report were determined using a compilation of survey results in addition to data on risk, crime, climate resilience, and more. Canada's relative lack of violent crime was highlighted as a leading measure of safety. As travel destinations go, it really doesn't get much safer than Canada. Violent crime is comparatively low, and there is a low incidence of gun-related crime. So there you go.
Good stuff.
So does Trudeau get the credit for that? Pierre Poilievre, does he get the credit for that? No? Because, No.
Speaking
of course. Well, hang on, I got one more.
Yeah, okay, please go ahead.
Here. This is from Uncover the News, our friend Kristen. She sent me this earlier from Donald Trump. He posted this on Truth Social. This is warped, but this is Donald Trump. It was a pleasure to have dinner the other night with Governor Justin Trudeau of the great state of Canada. I look forward to seeing the governor again soon so that we may continue our in-depth talks on tariffs and trade, the results of which will be truly spectacular for all. Donald J. Trump. Okay.
Well, he got the great part right.
Yeah. Like,
Just saying.
really?
I heard the great part.
Yeah.
Trolling. Trumpy's always trolling. That's the one you just let slide by.
Well, and here's a comment from Ron Filipowski. It says, as I said in my bulletin a few days ago, Trudeau running down to Mar-a-Lago right after Trump posted his tariff threat was a huge mistake. Now Trump thinks he owns him. Amazing, after all this time, so many people still have no clue how to deal with him. I'm like, well, I don't know if I agree with that.
Well, I mean, Trump may think he owns him. I mean, listen, but listen. Whether Trump actually thinks he owns him or not, Trump is going to say for the cameras because Trump is the TV president that he owns him, right? I saw the interview. It's like, oh yeah, I called him like this, and in 15 seconds he was there. And it's like, we actually know the true story is that it was Trudeau that said, hey, why don't we meet for dinner? It was Trump that said, hey, how about Friday? It was Trump who jumped on the opportunity and said, hey, why not? Look, Trudeau's like, well, why don't we have dinner? Why not 15 seconds from now? Trudeau said, I can make that happen.
The response to Ron Filipowski from the CEO of Pierre Poilievre's Bologna factory, thinking and reality are two different things.
Yes, exactly. So, and then there's what you think, and then there's what you actually think, and then what you choose to think, because it works for you here. So, I mean, everything that goes through the Trump filter gets reinterpreted as Trump as the hero or the guy that's exerted dominance, or the guy who won. I won. That's what I do. I win. Right? So he's always the winner. He always got the best. Right? It's zero-sum game. Right? It's like I won and you lost. Ha ha. That's Trump. So yeah, the great state of Canada, trying to rebrand.
Well, I mean, Doug Ford keeps saying he's from the great state of Etobicoke. So look, y'all want to be Americans? I'll help you pack. I'll help you pack. But don't change it for us.
Jeez.
You have a choice. You can leave. You know that, right? You can move there if you like. But here's the thing. I'd say the vast majority, 97% of us, if not more, do not want to be American citizens. We're very happy to be Canadian. The vast majority of us. Maybe my numbers are off by a little bit, but I'm going to go with 97%.
Mm-hmm. Now, in other moves, according to the Canadian press, as expected, and this has got to be the shortest article I've ever seen. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 paragraphs. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre's latest attempt to topple the minority Liberal government in a non-confidence vote has failed, with the New Democrats and Liberals voting against the motion. The Conservative motion quoted NDP leader Jagmeet Singh's own criticism of the Liberals and called on the House to agree with Singh and vote non-confidence in the government. The New Democratic leader said he would not be supporting the motion last week. Singh was not present in the House of Commons for most of the voting period, and there were jeers from the Conservative benches as NDP MPs cast their votes against the motion. MPs also voted on an NDP motion calling on the government to permanently remove GST from what they call essentials. The NDP and Green members were the only ones to vote in favor of this motion, resulting in its defeat. Boom. Pierre tried, Pierre failed. Another testament to his political impotence in the House of Commons, at least. Which is why he has this big temper tantrum going on with the filibuster, because that's about the only thing he can manage to get done. And to be totally honest, the only reason he's getting it done is because the Liberals and the NDP seem rather fine with letting it happen, because they're not stopping it. They all have the power to stop it. The NDP did it the other day to pass the GST rebate. It's like, yeah, you can keep crying, but there's this thing that you want to occupy all the time, go ahead, cry yourself out. Oh, wait a minute, we have something we need to do. Yeah, we're going to vote with the government to shut them up for like 1 day. Okay, we got that through. Okay, yeah, go ahead, go back to your regular schedule crying. We'll just go back and, I mean, that's literally what they're doing with them.
Oh yes,
it's literally what they're doing with the Conservatives. And again, because our media is the way it is, this is not the narrative. The narrative is not How do you present 3 confidence motions in the House, lose on all 3, and the narrative doesn't become of how you are a loser? That you are the isolated party. How does that happen? How do you fail 3 times in a row? The light just went on. I saw a tweet earlier this morning, 3 strikes and you're out, right? And I'm going like, what does this refer to? This. Of course.
Yes. Yes.
You've tried 3 times in the space of a few weeks. You failed. Now there actually is a real confidence motion, not one that I'm starting as an opposition day, a money bill with the full economic statement that will happen. And then another one with the estimates, actual real ones that you're probably going to lose too. So that'll be 5. When does the narrative become about your political impotence? About your big talk? That you doing so much to achieve so little? In a normal world, on Earth 1, that would be the narrative.
Yes.
That's not where we live anymore. Apparently.
Sadly, no. That is not where we live anymore.
Jeez.
Bizarre times.
This guy. Okay. Oh yes. We have another person who found out recently.
Oh, who's that? I gotta run soon, no way.
Pardon?
I gotta run soon.
Oh, okay. Yes, hold on. Let me find that for you. In the whole anti-vaxxer movement, there's another one. Someone whose name didn't become as popular as the Chris Barber and the Tamara Leaches, but still was able to get the attention of law enforcement enough. Oh, come on. Oh, that would explain why I'm not finding it. I'm on the wrong page.
Oh, well, there you go.
Sometimes I frighten myself with not being particularly bright. So yeah, this person was part of the anti-vax movement, and I believe part of the convoy stuff as well, and got into a little bit of trouble with the law, and his result came in. His name is Steve Charland, and this is from December 3rd, so it's about a week ago. And according to CBC News here, a key figure in the Freedom Convoy protest has been found guilty of mischief. Steve, Steeve, two E's, was found guilty by an Ontario Superior Court judge on Tuesday for his role in the Freedom Convoy protest in downtown Ottawa in 2022. Over the course of the trial, the defense argued the convoy's demonstration was being, quote, managed by the city of Ottawa, and that the Crown had not established beyond a reasonable doubt that the protest was illegal. The judge said in French, it was unreasonable to believe the city approved of the demonstration. He listed 10 consequences of the protest, including street congestion, noise from horns and engines, the closure of some businesses, and the disproportionate use of police resources to maintain public order. During his testimony last year, Charland said he did not understand why he was on the docket at all, insisting he had acted within the limits of the law. Charland also faced a charge of counseling to commit mischief, but the Crown requested a stay of proceedings for that. Sentencing is expected to take place in February 2025. Charland was arrested by Ontario Provincial Police officers in Van Cleek Hill in February of 2022. From Grenville, Quebec, Charland is known as a spokesperson for Les Farfadas, a Quebec group formed to protest against public health measures. And that's why we didn't hear about them too much in English Canada, because, right, why give them profile? Because this was about the Western movement, so let's give them all the profile. Let's not talk about these farfadas. But yeah, they were busy. That group was formed from La Meute, which was regarded by experts to be a far-right anti-Islam and anti-immigration group. Charlat previously held a senior position within La Meute, a group that maintains an active social media presence, promoting itself online as campaigning for the defense of freedom of expression and democracy, as well as promoting secularism. People wearing les farfadas patches and leather jackets could often be found around the protest site during the 3-week occupation of Ottawa. So, guilty, guilty, guilty. And we will get to sentencing in February. And rejoice. Because another one found out. Another fuckwad found out.
Well, let me share you a photo from the Farfada group, and this will tell you basically who they are and how they feel about most people who aren't looking exactly like him. You can see his jacket. He's got Farfada, and he's got the words fuck and you in the symbol of somebody flipping you off.
Oh.
On the back of his jacket.
Charming.
Yeah, so that's who they are. Charming fellows. FA, time to FO.
Kind of homes you bring home to mama.
Mm-hmm.
So she could smack him upside the head. Smart nap. Oh, you thought I was introducing you to my mom because we're going somewhere? Oh, no. Mama, get the rolling pin. So, oh, boy. Okay, you have to go soon, right, Mr. Grizzly?
Yes.
All right, so let's end the show then. By the way, everyone, today is also Human Rights Day.
Oh, yes.
There you go. December 10th, yep. The day on which the United Nations General Assembly adopted the Universal Declaration of Human Rights in 1948. So let's see, 52 and 24, 76. You look good, girl. Looking good for 76. All right. Kids and Cubs, that's the end of this episode of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. We love making this for you. Thank you very much for coming to listening to us. Remember, sharing is caring, and word of mouth is priceless. So please tell your peeps and poops all about us. Now, if you'd like to support us, you can. And one of the ways you could do that is by making sure that you don't miss an episode. And how you do that is by scanning that QR code that just appeared on the bottom of the screen. And that's the Ray girl who helped us put that there because she sponsors our pod page. That's podpage.com/the True North Eager Beaver, lowercase letters with a hyphen between each one of those words. And when you go there and click subscribe, when we have something fresh off the bandwidth, it comes directly to you. And if you noticed, our podcast listeners, you had a lot come to you yesterday, thanks to the diligent work of Mr. Grizzly, who got a lot of shows up. So, we will soon be completely on track. I think I am 4 behind, and I should be able to get those done relatively soon. So, and then we'll have all our audience together at the same time, finally, which is what I like. I like to have everybody all together and, just have this big loving because, it works better when everybody gets the news around the same time rather than, a little bit later. But that's all on me, kids and cubs. And I will endeavor to get us all back on schedule as soon as possible. If you would like to support us in other ways, then you need to make like Kit Elaine, who I am sure in the chat has reminded you that if you smash the buttons at some point during the show, you won't have to do it now. But in case you haven't, I'm sure she is there reminding you to make sure that you stop by and smash with our buttons, like, share, and subscribe right here on our True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated YouTube page. So thank you for your valuable service, Kit Elaine. Appreciate it very much. And if you would like to help us in yet another way, the QR code that is by Mr. Grizzly's head will bring you to our coffee page, where if you like what we do and you would like to support us and encourage us to do more, give us a little pat on the back and say, atta Beaver, atta Grizzly, here's a cup of coffee for you, and here's a mug of hot chocolate. Enjoy. That would make us very, very happy. And you can do that by scanning that QR code or going to our coffee page, ko-fi.com/eagerbeaver, where you will find our tip jar. And that's what our good friend Kit T. Wigmore did yesterday, and sent us a beautiful compliment, I have to say. that sentiment on Blue Sky is accurate, fellows. The sentiment about us being someone's happy place.
Oh, yeah.
You make catching up on news, domestic and international, a joy to drop in. You present often contentious issues with impartiality and caution where you are uncertain how a breaking story will go. Decorum with an edgy/knowing smile. Kids and Cubs, get yourselves a fan who loves you like T. Wigmore loves us. Oh my. Woo. Thank you. You know, T, I have to say this, like, because I know I've mentioned it before, but T. Wigmore, if you are in the chat like this, and you say the most encouraging and positive, like, this is someone who's hardwired for optimism. I get the sense, and just likes to, just encourage people, because I don't think I've ever seen anything negative. It's just, doing great, good comment, nice observation. So we see them, we see you, and we appreciate it. Thank you. That's it's nice to have a cheerleader. It really is. Everybody needs at least one, and we are very blessed with many among the damn fam. So thank you very much. Because democracy is something that you do. Again, Kits and Cubs, if you live in Cloverdale, Langley City, December 16th is your by-election day, and Lethbridge West, your December 18th is your provincial by-election day, so do what you need to do for that. And also, given that we are getting a little bit in the spirit of the holidays, there's probably a lot of organizations right now that are looking for people who might want to help serve some food during the holidays. So if you're in the spirit of giving, and not just giving cash or giving gifts, whatnot, but giving of your time and of yourself, that might be something that you might want to do. Get some Cubs. Please consider reaching out to any local organizations that feed people in your area, especially during the holidays. Let's spread the joy and spread some love, and get in the season, the spirit of the season, if you would like. All right. I think I've got everything there. So, Kids and Cubs, it could be a tough world out there. Be kind to and gentle with yourself. Mr. Grizzly, do you have some words of wisdom?
Yeah, be kind to and gentle with yourselves today. Kind of hits hard because I'm going through some stuff at the moment. That's why I didn't have any ASMR last night, because I was going through stuff, and I still am. It's the struggle, right, with depression and anxiety. But currently, it's the depression, anxiety, no job and no money coming in, and money running out fast. So it all starts to compound and really weigh heavy on one's soul. So I hate to say this, but I might have to take a construction gig in January.
Oh no.
Well, I got to generate income, and right now I'm going to have to spend. What's that?
White hat, though?
Oh, I'll still be white hat, but I'm still going to be on the job site, which means I'll still be doing the stuff. I'm trying to avoid that at all costs, but I'm hitting roadblocks and doors. So the company that I'm doing business development for, we're not on the AVSO, so trying to get any sort of federal government money is almost impossible. When you're not on the AVSO, they won't deal with you because you're not sort of registered, and it's because we're a new company.
Right.
So I might have to take something in construction come January, because right now I'm going to I got to finish up stuff that I missed a deadline yesterday. I got to finish up some stuff today, and then I have to spend several hours with shared services on the phone to try and get my record of employment, so I can see if I can actually get any EI that is actually owed to me that I've been paying for.
Right.
I just want my money, man. Like, my severance is gone, and now I'm living off of what's left of my savings, and there won't be much come January. So
I don't know why it's so hard to get these reports. Alex had a hard time getting his too during.
I was never sent my ROE. I was never sent my final pay stub. I have no idea what my actual final pay was. I saw the money that I got deposited into my account, but I don't know what taxes I paid on that. What was the gross amount? I have no idea. So, I'm discouraged at the moment. And it's tough to try and stay positive when you're discouraged, when you don't have anything coming in. I'm really, yeah, I'm frustrated and I'm discouraged and I'm trying not to get down on myself. I will release a couple of things later today for my ASMR channel. I'm not going to do a live one, just a couple of short videos. I've got a lot of other things I have to take care of today and try and get it done. Yesterday was a difficult day. I had a horrible migraine that put me out for about 2 hours. It was, I think the pressure change just knocked me flat. There was no reason to have a migraine, but it just right like that, right? So that set me back. And then I missed a deadline, which is troublesome because I'm not one to miss deadlines. So I got to try and hit it today, even though I'm a day past. It's just a lot of frustrating things right now, and nothing seems to be coming together. And, being that it's Christmas time, I'm not going to be able to provide gifts for anybody this year because I just don't have the money, which is frustrating because I have niece and nephews. I'm not going to be able to get them anything. So you show up at Christmas for Christmas dinner feeling like a loser. And that's where I'm sitting right now. And I'm trying not to beat myself up about it. I'm trying not to. But it's not easy. I know it's always darkest before the dawn, but holy shit, is it dark out right now.
Oh, my friend. Well, if you need a shoulder or an ear, right, I'm here for you.
Thanks, I appreciate that. I know. It's just.
And I know you have like good family, and they'll make sure you don't fall into like this. But I'm here too if you need help.
I'm just not good at asking for help when I need it, because I've always been taught to be self-sufficient. And
as a first rule, but
always felt guilty for asking for help when I need it.
Yeah.
And, that's something I have to learn. You have to learn to ask for help when you don't know how to do it. And that's never easy. So that's where I am right now. I'm asking for help and I don't even know how to do it. So there it is. I'm asking for help. I need some positive messages out in the universe so that somehow I can get into a position that will pay me well enough that I don't suffer and I don't have to destroy my body further than I already have. Because it's, like I said, I did 4 hours of work one day and I could barely walk for the next 2 days.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm holding on tight, but it's difficult right now. That's all there is. That's all I've got to say.
Oh, God. I'm giving you the biggest hug, my friend.
Thanks.
All right, Mr. Grizzly, please cue the cock, and hopefully you are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters, CanadianTarot.com, their uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. We are grateful to the Crier Media Network for its support, Pete Jarvis for our artwork, and Paul Joseph Something for our opening and closing sequence music.
I do have a quick Easter egg for you.
Okay.
This is from the National Press Club in the U.S., not here in Canada, but from the U.S. Watch this. This is interesting. This was from, I think it was last Thursday. Have a look at this.
Everything we do is under fire. Elon Musk sits on Twitter every day, or X today, saying like, we are the media. You are the media. My message to Elon Musk is bullshit. You're not the media. You having a blue check mark, a Twitter handle, and 300 words of cleverness doesn't make you a reporter. You don't do that by popping off on Twitter. You don't do that by having an opinion. You do it by doing the hard work.
Yeah, come on, slow clap, everybody. Whoa. First of all, I've got to say, extraordinary content It needed to be said.
Yeah.
It continues to need to be said. When all of the garbage is flying around on social media, lying about reporters, lying about the hard work they do, lying about the hard work editors do, lying about everything up and down, about not only their alternative set of facts, but alternative set of facts about what people like you do. Or if social media, people lying every day, every hour, every minute about the news. What you do matters. What the New York Times does matters. What the Wall Street Journal does matters. What Jonathan Lemire does matters. What the Financial Times does matters. What NBC News and MSNBC reporters do matters. It matters.
So I don't particularly care for that show, Morning Joe, or the two hosts, because they kowtow to Trump. But I'm not going to argue with anything he just said.
Yep. It's true. So we forget journalism is one of the world's most dangerous jobs.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes.
People die, get thrown in jail, get tortured.
Oh, yes. Khashoggi as an example.
It's like a lot of people were popping off in 280 word bursts.
Mm-hmm.
What are they sacrificing? What are they risking?
Nothing. Keyboard warriors. Keyboard coward warriors in their mom's basement. I just like to say that. I know that's not necessarily true.
I know.
But I'd like to say it.
Journalism around the world was a very dangerous job.
Oh, yes.
I've got a couple of Easter eggs. We've got some Canadians about whom we're proud to speak of. Our short track speed skating team has a new star named Danae Blais, who earned the first individual gold medal of her international career on Saturday, leading Canada to 4 medals on the day at the ISU Short Track World Tour in Beijing. In the women's 1,000 meters, the 25-year-old went to the front of the pack from the start of the final and held off a late charge from the Dutch skater on the final lap to take the win by 0.039 of a second. Jeez. Winning gold is an incredible feeling. The level of competition is extremely elevated this season, so I didn't really have a feeling that I was going to reach the top this early on. It's a tremendous feeling knowing that I have what it takes to become the best. Blais later joined Kim Boutin, Florence Prudel, and Courtney Sarrault to secure gold in the women's 3,000-meter relay, keeping Canada atop the World Tour standings. Canada's 2 other medals on Saturday came from William Dand-Ginoux and Steve Dubois, who won silvers in the men's 1,500 and men's 500 meters respectively. Dand-Ginoux has medaled in every 1,500-meter event this season and continues to be the leader in the men's overall classification. On Sunday, 3 more Canadians won medals. Félix Roussel claimed gold in the men's 1,000 for his first individual distance medal of the season. Florence Prudel earned her first career individual distance medal, claiming silver in the women's 500 final, and she was joined on the podium by teammate Ricky Doak, who took bronze. Boutin was just behind in 4th place, so in the 500-meter final, Canadians finished 2nd, 3rd, and 4th.
Wow.
Damn. And then freestyle skiing, Kingsbury's back at it again. The king, 2 for 2 on the season. After winning the men's moguls in Idrefjall, Sweden, Kingsbury scored 87.92 to beat out 2 of his top rivals, Ikuma Horishima of Japan and Walter Wahlberg of Sweden. If you keep in count, that's Kingsbury's 92nd World Cup win and 131st World Cup podium.
There is not an athlete anywhere else on earth that even comes close to his winning record.
Yep.
Not even close.
Yep.
You think of the greatest athletes in history, and their win-loss record doesn't even touch his.
I
think his win-loss record is like 65%.
Something ridiculous like that. I know, it blows
the greatest
the mind.
athletes in the world, high is 30. Nobody comes close to him.
92 out of 131 podiums are wins.
Yeah.
92 out of 131. It's ridiculous.
That's unbelievable.
Yes. And women's moguls, Maya Schwinghammer, probably the coolest name in sport, earned her first career FIS World Cup moguls podium, finishing 3rd. Her score of 80.71 put the 23-year-old behind 2 standouts, last year's Crystal Globe winner Jakarta Anthony of Australia and reigning world champion Perrine Lafont of France. Schwinghammer did have 1 prior World Cup podium, which came in dual moguls in December 2023. Unfortunately, the dual moguls event scheduled for Saturday were cancelled due to dense fog on the course. So there you go. Some Canadians who made us proud. All right. That's our show. You all have an excellent day.
I'll see you later.